The Sleeping Warrior Maiden. Soon he heard of a warrior maiden, fast asleep on a mountain and surrounded by a glittering barrier of flames, through which only the bravest of men could pass to arouse her. On the fell I know a warrior made to sleep, o'er her waves the linden's bane. Igwulm struck a sleep thorn in the robe of the maid who would heroes choose. Lay of Fafnir, Thorpe's translation. This adventure was the very thing for Sigurd, and he set off at once. The way lay through trackless regions, and the journey was long and cheerless. But at length he came to the Hindar Fjall in Frankland, a tall mountain whose cloud-wreathed summit seemed circled by fiery flames. Long Sigurd rideth the waste, when lo on a morning of day, from out of the tangled crag walls, amidst the cloudland grey, comes up a mighty mountain, and it is as though there burns a torch amidst its cloud wreath, so thither Sigurd turns. For he deems indeed from its topmost to look on the best of earth, and Greyfell neigheth beneath him, and his heart is full of mirth. Sigurd rode up the mountain side, and the light grew more and more vivid as he proceeded, until when he had neared the summit, a barrier of lurid flames stood before him. The fire burned with a roar which would have daunted the heart of any other. But Sigurd remembered the words of the birds, and without a moment's hesitation, he plunged bravely into its very midst. Now Sigurd turns in his saddle, and the hilt of the wrath he shifts, and draws a girth the tighter, and the gathered reins he lifts, and crieth aloud to Greyfell, and rides at the wildfire's heart. But the white wall wavers before him, and the flame flood rusheth apart, and high o'er his head it riseth, and wide and wild its roar, as it beareth the mighty tidings to the very heavenly floor. But he rideth through its roaring, as the warrior rides the rye, when it bows with the wind of the summer, and the hid spears draw anigh. The white flame licks his raiment, and sweeps through Greyfell's mane, and bathes both hands of Sigurd, and the hilt of Fafnir's bane, and the winds about his war helm, and mingles with his hair. But not his raiment dusketh, or dims his glittering gear. Then it fails and fades and darkens, till all seems left behind, and dawn and the blaze is swallowed in mid-mark stark and blind. The threatening flames having now died away, Sigurd pursued his journey over a broad tract of white ashes, directing his course to a great castle with shield-hung walls. The great gates stood wide open, and Sigurd rode through them unchallenged by wardens or men at arms, proceeding cautiously, for he feared some snare. He at last came to the center of the courtyard, where he saw a recumbent form cased in armor. Sigurd dismounted from his steed, and eagerly removed the helmet, when he started with surprise to behold, for instead of a man, the face of the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. All of his efforts to awaken the sleeper were in vain, however, until he had removed her armor, and she lay before him in pure white linen garments, her long hair falling in golden waves around her. Then, as the last fastening of her armor gave way, she opened wide her beautiful eyes, which met the rising sun, and first greeting with rapture the glorious spectacle, she turned to her deliverer, and the young hero and the maiden loved each other at first sight. Then she turned and gazed on Sigurd, and her eyes met the Volsung's eyes, and mighty and measureless now did the tide of his love arise. For their longing had met and mingled, and he knew of her heart that she loved, and she spake unto nothing but him, and her lips with the speech flood moved. The maiden now proceeded to tell Sigurd her story. Her name was Brunhild, and, according to some authorities, she was the daughter of an earthly king, whom Odin had raised to the rank of a Valkyr. She had served him faithfully for a long while, but once had ventured to set her own wishes above his, giving to a younger and therefore more attractive opponent the victory which Odin had commanded for another. In punishment for this act of disobedience, she had been deprived of her office and banished to earth, where the All-Father decreed that she should wed like any other member of her gender. This sentence filled Brunhild's heart with dismay, for she greatly feared lest it might be her fate to marry a coward whom she would despise. To quiet these apprehensions, Odin took her to Hindarfjall or Hindfell, and touching her with the thorn of sleep, that she might await in unchanged youth and beauty the coming of her destined husband. He surrounded her with a barrier of flame, which none but a hero could venture through. From the top of Hindarfjall, Brunhild now pointed out to Sigurd her former home at Limedale or Hunaland, telling him he would find her there whenever he chose to come and claim her as his wife. And then, while they stood on the lonely mountain top together, Sigurd placed the ring of Andvaranaut upon her finger, in token of betrothal, swearing to love her alone as long as life endured. From his hand then draweth Sigurd Andvari's ancient gold. There is naught but the sky above them, as the ring together they hold. The shapen ancient token that hath no change or end, no change and no beginning, no flaw for God to mend. Then Sigurd cried, O Brunhild, now hearken while I swear, that the sun shall die in the heavens, and the day no more be fair, if I seek not love in Limedale, and the house that fostered thee, and the land where thou awakest, twixt the woodland and the sea. And she cried, O Sigurd, Sigurd, now hearken while I swear, that the day shall die forever, and the sun to blackness wear, ere I forget thee, Sigurd, as I lie twixt wood and sea, in the little land of Limedale, and the house that fostered me. So that was The Sleeping Warrior Maiden, Section 23 of Chapter 26 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, the Sigurd Saga. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Did you enjoy this video? Then subscribe for more, and be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.